This is The Big Conversation on The Breakfast Show here on KBC English Service.
And right about now, it's all about conversation, and we have to talk about President William Ruto's speech yesterday during Jamhuri Day celebrations, Kenya at 60. And of course, the best people to have talk about this are our favorite people on the show. Joining us is advocate from the High Court, Emily Muregu. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am great. How was your Jamhuri Day?
Amazing. Really amazing. I had time to relax.
Oh, wow. Okay, so your Jamhuri Day was amazing because you didn't have to do stuff.
No.
Okay, well, that's great.
How was yours?
Mine was very busy. We were covering the Jamhuri Day celebration, so it was an extra work day. Imagine today is an easier work day than yesterday. That's how working in the media is weird like that.
We appreciate your work.
Asante sana. Let us talk about first thing. Let's recap on the president's Jamhuri celebration speech at Uhuru Gardens yesterday. First up thing we're talking about is the judiciary, because that is something that is very close to you, Emily. So let us take a listen to what he said.
The judiciary, which is our nation's foremost anchor of the rule of law, continues to grow in its capacity to authoritatively discharge its constitutional mandate and make justice a right of every Kenyan. To provide effective and efficient services to the people, we have enhanced resources available to the judiciary, promoted respect for its independence, and submitted to its authority in order to deepen our credentials as a nation guided by the rule of law.
Now, question that I will pitch to you, Emily, is 60 years later, how strong, how authoritative is our judiciary?
First, the Constitution of Kenya really restructured the judiciary, where it clearly defines the role of the judiciary. It establishes the Judicial Service Commission, which is mandated to ensuring there's independence of the judiciary. It is responsible for facilitating accountability and independence of the judiciary. As at now, in 2023, I feel there's enhanced access to justice. There are increased courts at the grassroots level. For instance, out of the 47 counties, in 41 counties, we have the presence of the High Courts. We have the Court of Appeal permanently sitting in at least four different areas outside Nairobi. That is Nyeri, Isiolo, not Isiolo, that is Nyeri, Kisumu, Nakuru, and Mombasa. So really, in terms of access to justice, I feel we are better placed. Independence of the judiciary has been enhanced. We are respecting the rule of law. By and by, the separation of power between the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature is clearly defined by this constitution. Yeah.
That's great. So what key reform can you point out in this institution 60 years later?
Tenure of security of tenure by the judges. Unlike before, where we had a situation where judges would be called and decisions would be made whatever time of day or night. Nowadays, judges are more independent when making decisions. That is one main thing that I can point out to. Next is just on the availability of courts. Access to justice has become much easier. Unlike before, where you had to really travel a huge distance, you had to cover a huge distance in order to access courts. Nowadays, we even have the digitalized systems. We have e-filing. We have virtual proceedings of matters. Really, we have enhanced our judicial system.
That's so. There are a lot more of those virtual court sessions, court proceedings. Are they called proceedings or sessions? Proceedings.
Yes.
Was this thanks to COVID, and then it was just adopted, or had that been something that had been happening before? Because I'd never heard of it, and before COVID happened.
It was happening at a very slow pace, but thanks to COVID, we had to. We had to quicken the digitalization of courts. We had to ensure there's e-filing, virtual court proceedings, tracking systems, really making work efficient.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like the fact that for once someone could make a statement and say thanks to COVID.
Yes, the positive effects of COVID.
Yeah, positive effects of COVID. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah.
All right. There's also no better justice system without proper democracy or an atmosphere thereof. So let's hear what the president had to say regarding our democracy.
There is much to celebrate about the strides we have made for the last 6 decades. The democratic credentials of our political culture are solid, and our institutional maturity beyond any doubt. Fellow countrymen and women, the progress we have made is undeniable. Our peers at that time, nations like South Korea, Singapore, and Malaysia, have similarly made immense progress in democratic and institutional maturity. They have, however, made much more economic progress than we, and as a consequence, they are much more advanced today than we are.
Okay, those are facts, Mr. President. We do not deny. However, Emily, let's be real. We don't have the best of the best example of democracy. However, I feel like we do have better democracy than a lot of countries in Africa. Do you think so?
Democracy in the sense of representation. Our representation, for instance, in Parliament, both at the national level and under the county level. Honestly, in words of my colleague, often we Mwananchi are used as a tool of trade for political interest.
Absolutely.
However, our laws are one of the best laws that we have, and out of it, we have this thing called public participation.
Ah, yes, we love it.
And a lot of issues are being taken to court out of lack of public participation. So that really brings democracy to the common Mwananchi. Are we able to publicly be engaged? Is the public engaged before a decision is made? Do we participate in decision making as common Mwananchi? I think also lack of knowledge is what we are suffering from as Kenyans. Because, for instance, if we keep complaining, what are we complaining over right now? Increased cost of living or unbearable cost of living. And we can see there was increase in taxation on fuel levy, VAT. While we did nothing, we did not submit our contribution to the government. We just made noise outside, made public Twitter, social media things. We need to understand what are the structures that are in place for public participation. Once we are able to do that, we are able to enjoy the democratic space that we are in. For representation, I urge our representatives, those are members of parliament and members of the county assemblies, kindly have common Mwananchi interest at heart.
True.
Yes. However, I agree with the president. We are in a space where Kenya is one of the best democratic countries. We challenge everything in court, and we are just from speaking on the independence of the judiciary. We are seeing a lot of gains out of it.
And honestly, there are some countries where when someone dares say something about a politician, or if there happens to be a politician who's embroiled in some scandal, and then people go out on social media and start talking about it, they get arrested, they get detained.
Yes.
What is it? So there's a lady in, I think it was Iran. It was very, very terrible. And all she did was post a tweet about who was actually a corrupt politician. And she was jailed. I don't think she's out, actually. That happened like 4 years ago. It's very sad. Speaking of, and this is a terrible segue, because we're going from Iran and just going around that part of the world. The president mentioned Singapore, Malaysia. Now, here is the thing. According to our research, we found that these guys are they were at much worse levels of independence compared to Kenya. But then these are countries that have significantly progressed. Singapore, wow. South Korea, Malaysia, what is it that we got? What is it that we are getting wrong? Because I feel like we still haven't got it right.
First is ignorance.
Ignorance.
Yes. Ignorance of the law. we tend to believe in what we believe without really putting or making reference to the law. What does the law state? For instance, the last few weeks we've been running a campaign on gender-based violence.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
If I can use that as an example, I realize people normalize gender-based violence as a norm in the society. If my husband beats me up, I should appreciate it. I should take it as an act of love. If he denies me money and I do not have any source of income, it is his way of ensuring I am a kept woman. So it has been normalized in Nairobi. Let me say Nairobi so that we get to understand.
Okay.
In certain areas of Nairobi, unfortunately to a level where we don't appreciate that the law protects us from domestic violence. So ignorance in every space is what I feel is a setback to us. Poverty. Poverty necessitated mainly by corruption. We have more dealers than leaders. Unfortunately.
Wow, we have more dealers than leaders.
Yeah.
I like that.
So we have a lot of corruption scandals that go and fully really, no justice is seen to be served to common mwananchi, where we hear we've lost billions in whatever saga, the edible oil saga that we had recently.
Right.
We've already forgotten about the 17 billion oil. What happened
By
to that
the way,
lady?
Jamhuri.
Where are you?
Wow.
Are you safe?
Hey.
We are currently experiencing lots of power outage in our international airports. Really,
It's a travesty.
those are some of the things that really make us lag behind.
Yeah.
And on the previous point where we'd mentioned on matters democracy, I just remembered, even as we pride in our democratic space, we have experienced excesses by some government wings, for instance, the police, where we decide to demonstrate and we find people are being killed, arbitrarily arrested, and trumped up charges against them. So we are not yet there, but we are on the right track.
We're on the right track.
Yeah.
On the democracy tip, there is at least one thing that we can note about Kenya. If you look at countries like especially in West Africa, they're always having coups all the time. We haven't had one. We had one attempted. Now, what does that say about our democracy, or even us as a people?
I think we are the ones who we have a conscience, and we are the ones who elect these leaders. And we elect them knowing they're going to serve us for 5 years. Before we even go to a coup, we were discussing Kawera Mwangaza here. An attempt to impeach a sitting governor.
Yeah.
An attempt to impeach a president. How would it be like before we even get to a coup? It's more like not possible. So we have to deal with our situation as is. I was laughing yesterday when I was bargaining for some groceries. And the mama mboga was busy telling me, you mulikata kutupatia 6,000 baba care, so please buy
Baba care.
so please buy it as is.
Buy it as is. You didn't give us. Wow.
So we're in a situation where we have to
like
do
that.
with what we have, really. Yeah.
And I'm glad that at least we do it in a peaceful way.
Yes.
Indeed. Moving on, President also used the opportunity to highlight a bit on the National Government Constituency Development Fund Amendment Bill, which he signed into law on Monday. Here is a part of what he said about the bill, which is actually now an act.
I signed into law amendments to the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act, which set out a framework to anchor the development of ICT hubs in each of the 1,450 wards in the country.
So it said that the principal object of the act is to align National Government Constituencies Development Fund Act 2015 to the Constitution. The question I have is, what does that mean exactly?
Basically, he's putting in structures that are going to reduce poverty and enhance regional equity. You see, we've always complained of marginalized areas.
Yeah.
There are areas that are more developed than others. So this is how CDF comes in. Every area should have representation. And that's why there's a time we were discussing on a constituency in Kenya that has lacked an MP for the longest time due to lack of constitution of the IEBC, so they can't elect a member of parliament. That is a disadvantaged area because with a member of parliament, they are able to access the CDF, social economic justice. Remember, CDF is there to help even the less fortunate amongst us in this specific constituency. And there are people who benefit especially from the education bursaries. There are parents who really, really, really look forward to that. And they vote in, for instance, for Embakasi, we vote in Babu Owino every day, and we will always vote him in any other day because he himself is always present to issue the education bursaries.
Oh, yeah?
Equally to all tribes in Embakasi where he represents his people. So, a big shout out to my friend.
All right. I know I'm not mad about that. Also, let's touch on yesterday's theme. The theme for Jamhuri Day was youth, creative economy, and sports. And where is going to find this? The president had this good news for content creators, a reason for them to smile from one of the leading tech companies.
I have good news for our creatives and those who imagine and produce content through Facebook and Instagram. Just yesterday, Meta committed to helping creators in Kenya earn money for crafting original content. Following a pilot program with eligible creators in the country, Meta will be expanding monetization opportunities and allowing more creators to earn a living doing what they love.
Now, before the question I want to field to you, did you feel like, we've heard the president speak in fora, he does it every single week, but this particular one sounded to me, it came off very, very scripted. Like, I know the other speeches he does are obviously scripted, but this one's like, I felt like he really crammed it. Like everything was very, we're going to do that. But that's just my personal opinion. Anyway, my question to you, because you represent the youth, what's your reaction to that? Because content creators, it was just what, a year ago when content creators were worried about the fact that they were going to be charged so much for the content that they create. So now that he's mentioned that he had a deal, I guess during one of the many trips, met up with Mark Zuckerberg from Meta and made this commitment to help local content creators make the most. What do you feel about that?
On your sentiments first, I would ask, did you feel that because you're a content creator and you felt this is not part of what explicit content creation, hence it's scripted?
I plead the fifth.
I should as well then. Anyway, we need to support art. We need to support
absolutely
and nurture talents. And if indeed he met with and struck that kind of deal with Meta, and it's not a political statement, we need to follow through as the youth, follow through what are the procedures, what is the way forward, how to actually achieve this, so that we get beyond a political promise, a political statement.
Yeah, because honestly, I'm just like, I hope it's not just lip service, because we've had this before. We've had several times when during major public holidays we will get these promises from the president, and then after a while you don't get to see anything. So I am actually really hoping that it goes through, because there's so many content creators, and it spreads through a very wide. It's a wide net. It's not just because I think a lot of people, when they think content creation, they just think of the comedy skits you see Akina Crazy Kena doing, but there's also like therapy sessions. There are content creators who do stuff on building. I'm pretty sure there is a lawyer who does, and actually his name is Nick Ndeda. Imagine, weirdly enough. So, President, stay on track on that one. Okay, now, the president also assured that all the taxes All the taxes, because there's so many taxes, but he said that all the taxes that are going to be collected by the state shall be put to their intended use. No single shilling shall be lost to embezzlement or corruption. Let's first listen to something. This is the EACC Chair, Dr. David Oginde, before we hear what the president and the EACC CEO Twali Mbarak had to say.
Corruption precipitates high cost of living that all of us are experiencing. It leads to breakdown in law. It leads to inequitable distribution of resources and opportunities. That some of the men and women involved in corruption are armed and dangerous. But because you are an enemy to the destiny and the future of our people, we are going to face you with courage and with boldness.
And give an assurance that all taxes collected by government shall be put to their intended use, and that no single shilling shall be lost through embezzlement, theft, or corruption.
We have been arguing that one of the reasons the EACC is having a problem in fighting corruption is that the public elect wrong people. When it comes to election, get the right people and you will see development from your constituency, from your county.
That is Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission CEO Twali Mbarak. Before that was President talking about how we'll make sure that there was no corruption. Now, here's the thing. Interesting comment from EACC CEO Twali Mbarak said the problem is the leaders we elect. Now, yesterday in the newspaper, there's a bunch of PSs from former President Uhuru Kenyatta's cabinet who are now facing corruption charges, a huge number. And I'm like, okay, there is that huge number of people. Some of them are no longer in parliament. Some of them are. So how much confidence does it really inspire in us when the president says, oh, I will make sure, because now even more taxes means even more money, opportunity rather, to steal more money, right? So how do you feel about this?
As I said, as a citizen, I feel we have more dealers than leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately so. But even before we get into how our taxes are being managed, shouldn't we be addressing reduction of this taxation?
Fair.
As we said, the economy is growing, but the taxes are also increasing. Hence, as common mwananchi or even any other kind of mwananchi, we are unable to save. The whole essence that we are told is they are collecting more taxes to pay loans and to also save money so that we can have a better tomorrow.
Yes.
But we do not have a better today.
We don't have a better today.
Because we're lacking pesa mfukoni.
Mm-hmm.
So before, my thoughts would be we should also engage in a conversation around reduction of these taxes. But onto corruption. Corruption has really eroded our trust in the leaders that we have.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, we are to blame, and I agree with CEO for EACC, we are to blame, for we are the ones who elect these members of parliament. We elect our representatives at the national level and at the county level. But do you know, in as much as we are to blame, often a huge majority is doing that out of duress. Because I have been like, for instance, if I don't have money, and you come tell me you're giving me 1,000 shillings to go sit in a national stadium and listen to Jamhuri Day presentations, I will go. Yeah. If you give me 1,000 shillings and I do not have money, and I'm going to demonstrate with a sufuria in my head,
wow,
I will participate in it.
Right there.
And then, if you give me that 1,000 shillings for my national identity card during the electioneering program so that you can use it to buy your own vote, I will give it out.
And poverty levels are really high.
Yes.
There was a statistic that said that about 2 million, and yesterday on the show we had Professor Masharia Munene with us, and we were talking about the poverty levels. According to a statistic that was done in 2021, 2.9 million Kenyans live in what they call extreme poverty. And he even said that that number is higher than that. So I can see how that goes. But talking about poverty and money, there are a couple of things that the president mentioned yesterday, like the fact that inflation is now at 6.8%. It's down from 9.2% last year. Significant. In the last 6 months, our GDP has grown by 5.4%. And apparently, Kenya is now the 29th fastest growing economy in the world, according to the World Bank. Are these just statements that are being said to make us feel good, or what do you think?
That is a message of hope.
Message of hope, okay.
That is how I would interpret it. Because can we discuss even how common, not even common Mwananchi, any other Mwananchi is living? What are the economic strains that we are facing? Really, we can't ignore that.
This is true.
So even as we discuss our level of performance as a country towards in a global conversation, really, how is common Mwananchi living? We have so many people who are unable to eat 3 meals in a day.
True that.
If I'm to talk about the youth, even in universities, you find they only eat supper. Or they don't even call it dinner. There's no luxury of calling it dinner. It's supper. So a lady was telling me they tuck their tummy because they just take lots of water during the day, because that is all you need to sustain you while you're expected to read and understand this which you're learning for a better tomorrow. Really,
Maskini.
So are we going to ensure this person, because she was telling me my father earns this amount of money and he's not been added for salary. So this is the amount that he can give me. Rent has increased, food has increased, electricity is on me, transport is on me. So am I going to eat? I miss on going to class. Am I going to eat the 3 meals? I live without electricity token for a few days. This is here in Nairobi, a university in Nairobi. So really, how is it in Mashinani?
It must be terrible.
Yes, it is. It is.
Well.
Remembering we have floods. We were just from experiencing drought. We were just from experiencing COVID.
We need a break. Can we catch a break, please?
We need short-term solutions that are going to address this economic strain that common Mwananchi is feeling. We need to see the dollar to Kenya shilling conversion rate improving. We don't want to see our Kenyan shilling going down, while on the other hand, we are being told there is improvement. We need to see, or we need to hear the CS for Treasury also say, not saying we are broke.
We're broke.
Then the next week we are hearing from the president, no, it is well. So for me, I find it's a message of hope. It's not really what is on the ground. And this government was elected in because they were in touch with members on the ground. They should not lose that.
They gave people chapatis.
Now that is where we talk on representation. We forgot we needed more than chapatis through the sunroof. And now we are here wondering how to even get those same chapatis, even at least through the sunroof, unfortunately.
Right. Hey, 15 minutes away from 9 o'clock, here on The Breakfast Club on KBC English Service. We are joined by Advocate of the High Court, Emily Muregu, talking about President William Ruto's Jamhuri Day speech. And this was the thing that, for me, it had me like, what? From January, which is 13, well, on the 13th, 15 days, 15, 14, 20, my math is failing, 18 days. In 19 days, any foreigner visiting this country will not require a visa to access his country. Seriously?
Beginning January 2024, Kenya will be a visa-free country. It shall no longer be necessary for any person from any corner of the globe to carry the burden of applying for a visa to come to Kenya. This is why the government of Kenya has abolished the requirement of visas for all visitors. To implement this new policy, we have developed a digital platform to ensure that all travelers to Kenya are identified in advance on an electronic platform.
Okay, here's the thing. I know Rwanda did that. But that's Rwanda. Rwanda has never This is the reason why for me, this was not news that I welcome like with excitement, but more of a little bit of trepidation. And the reason is because I always think of terrorist attacks, and I always remember that, like in '98, one of the reasons why the bomb blast happened in Nairobi and even Tanzania was because way back it was very easy to come in and go out of this country, and now this, I'm like, also, is there something that the president isn't telling us about this visa thing? What are your thoughts on this, Emily?
Interestingly, I welcomed the news. I was excited.
Okay, fair enough.
Because of the fact that we are in need of economic boosts as a country.
This is true.
And tourism really plays a significant role in the country's economic development. In regard to screening people before they come, in as much as there will be no visas, they'll be electronically screened. It's on how efficient and effective this method will be. I think before stating it, where we have all international actors present, it's an international promise. It's not like the promises we were given under the plan, where we can wait and we are now being told 5 years is not enough.
100 days? No, we need 3 months. No, 5 years. No, 5 years is not enough.
We need 10.
We need 10. Accused guys.
So maybe they would have really tried to test it or something. How maybe within these first 3 months we will see how it works. Even just doing it without informing,
without telling
prior information. However, that would also jeopardize our right to information. So I feel it's a huge task on his shoulder, and I look forward to seeing how it will be implemented.
Right.
And I also look forward to seeing how many other countries will reciprocate the same to Kenyans.
Yeah, like it would be great. It would be great if we could have like some type of deals with certain states, because I do understand where the president comes from, saying we need to get more foreign investors coming in, and if this is an easier way, who knows? Malindi might become populated again, because I hear it's like
it's a sleeping town. But then, even as we are encouraging them to come, let us also do our house chores. Let me call Kenya a house. Let's put our house in order, so that you're not encouraging visitors to come while at the airport you're terrorizing them. You're treating them with no dignity. You're encouraging them to come while they're coming to an airport that has no electricity.
Leaking roofs. Hey, tunajichomea. Like, yeah, clean up the house before you invite guests.
Yes.
Totally makes sense. I like that. Thanks. Now, one more thing we have to talk about. No, well, let's see whether we can do this one. Yeah, we have about 10 minutes. Good. Over 900 Kenyans who have made achievements in one way or another in this country were awarded different state honors yesterday by the president. The list is really long, but notably, there was our very own Catherine Donye from Sundowner. Shout outs to her. Jeff Mwangemi, aka Kangemi. He hates being called Kangemi, by the way. And Martin Kingasia were among some of them who enjoyed this privilege. My producer shared with that Gazette notice. What did you get to see it, by the way?
Yes, I did. And I noticed there are a lot of politicians. I noticed there are a lot of cabinet secretaries, governors on the list. I look forward to your name and mine next year, God willing.
At least my friend, it can happen. You have said it, so now it has to happen. At least my friend, the actress, comedian, Jackie Vike, popularly known as Awinja, from Papa Shirandula, happened to be up in there. So I was very happy for her. So that was great, though. There is this great Kenyan who also made all of us proud this year.
Yes.
We must I must find this clip for us because, yes, this was so great. Talking about, listen to how the president described her.
I have conferred upon our world-beating athlete, Faith Kipyegon, the rank and status of Elder of the Order of the Golden Heart, the highest honor our country awards its citizens who illuminate the path of excellence. She has earned her place at the very top, from running barefoot to breaking 2 world records within a year, is the ultimate stage of heroism.
I'm so proud of myself. To have achieved what I achieved this year was magnificent. It was a dream come true from a long time ago. So I'm so proud of myself.
Props to her. She became the first Kenyan to win Athlete of the Year award, and she was also now awarded the Elder of the Order of the Golden Heart yesterday by the president. Inspirational story she has. What do you make of her?
I agree. She positively represented Kenya on the global stage. Mm-hmm. And for me, having lived in a county, having lived in Eldoret for such a long time.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay.
I went to school seeing people running in the morning. I'm not a runner, and that would really excite me. Like, how do you leave bed for you to go running out there? Then later on, I realized as I engage in sports law, I realized these people need a platform.
Yeah.
So for this person who wakes up early morning in the cold and runs around the highland areas of this country, it is a motivation that one day, just one day, I might secure my space on the table, just like she did. So really, for me, that was the highlight of the moment. I really felt proud of a fellow woman. A woman empowered is a society empowered.
Oh, yeah.
So there's an exceptional achievement in her field. Basically, for such a process, in as much as it ends with the president, there's always nomination by various entities, whether governments, whether different organizations, or whether individuals. Then evaluation is based on the following. There must be an exceptional service or achievement made. You must have leadership and integrity skills to the public service. You must have an impact to the society.
Yes, indeed.
And all this she falls under. And of course, she positively represented Kenya in a global stage. So shout outs to her. And if I ever get to run, I would love to run like her. And we can run in various ways. You can, in your profession, you can do it diligently in order to be able to secure space at the high table. So she's an inspiration to many, and I am inspired by her, by her story.
Me too. I hope that this will mean that there will be a lot more investment when it comes to sports, because I think we have such amazing, not just runners, but football players, rugby players, tennis players,
content
creators as well. Before I let you go, I want to play you one final clip what is regarding what the president had to say on education support.
We have increased the total allocation to our education sector by an additional 127 billion this year. Out of this, 46 billion will support the new university funding model that gives equal chance to every child in Kenya to acquire university education. An additional 9 billion to cover our TVET funding model and the hiring of an extra 2,000 tutors necessary for our TVET education.
Now, yesterday on the show, we had with Professor. I was also joined by a doctor from the University of Nairobi, head of the senior lecturer in history, and he said that a major problem with this country is there is no investment in education, the right kind of education. Now, after you hear what the president just said over there, now new university funding, TVET funding models, is this a sign of better things coming?
It is a sign of better things coming. However, One, within the 60 years, yes, we have increased access to education. We have free primary and to some extent secondary school, which has really enhanced the intake of people who are able to attend school. The problem is the quality of education that you get. However, I feel like our president has really great ideas for our country. And we are in a place that we have heard of these ideas during the campaign trail, that right now we want to know what is happening as at now. Not any more promises, but really as at now. This is what we are doing, and these are the challenges that we are facing as we implement this which we have designed. You see, that way it becomes a more realistic conversation between you as the head of state and we as the citizens of the country. But now, if every other time, like the other day he was in parliament, it was still a question of we will. There's no we are. We need a more present tense. We are doing this. And these are the challenges that we are facing because it's not 100% perfect. So as you tell us to tighten our belts, to give you time, we realize and we appreciate this is why we are giving you time. We're not giving you time to still give us more promises. No.
So if you were to grade the president's speech from yesterday, what grade are you giving it? Given the fact that you said there's a lot of we wills than we are's, what's your grade?
On the we will part, 98%.
Wow.
On the we are part, 5%.
5%. So the average, that average
We are
is
not
still high.
We are not doing the. Oh, it's still high for you.
No, like
okay.
I mean, if you 98 on the we will, 5 on the we are, so
you
that
know we are
puts-
past the promises stage.
We're
We
past the
already
promises
past
stage.
it. Really, right
Indeed.
now, what we need is what are you doing for us right now, and what have we done within the 1 year to contribute to the 60 years of independence that we have had.
Okay.
That would probably resonate with me better.
Fair enough. It just hit me that I need to kick you out of here in 1 minute. But before you leave, Emily, it's 12 days to Christmas. Do you have a Christmas message that you would like to share with all the listeners? I'm a big Christmas fan, that's why.
Please share yours first.
Mine is for everyone to be at peace. And the thing that made you love Christmas when you were a child, maybe, the thing that made you love Christmas, I hope that it comes this year because it's been a very tough year for all Kenyans. So my wish is that whatever it is that used to make you, yay, it's Christmas time, I hope you get that feeling back as soon as possible.
So I am Emily, and I am also a part of an organization called Democracy and Legal Aid Center. And our message is fostering dignity and inclusivity, mainly amongst persons with disability. So during this Christmas season, could we embrace inclusivity amongst all? Let's not leave behind the vulnerable. Those are persons with disability, the elderly, and persons with mobility constraints. I no longer say pregnant women, I say persons with mobility constraints. Yes.
Wow.
So along the road, as you're walking within the public spaces, let's endeavor to be more inclusive. Even as we share our Christmas goodies amongst everyone, let's not look at that person who can't afford as a beggar, but let's be more inclusive in whatever we do and however we make merry. And Merry Christmas, everyone. See you next year.
Oh, well said.
Or
Thank
talk
you.
to you next year.
Thank you very much, Emily Muregu, Advocate of the High Court. Have yourself a fantastic
You
Christmas.
too. Thank you.
This is The Big Conversation on The Breakfast Show here on KBC English Service. BC English Service. BC English Service. BC English Service. BC English Service.